Amen. In the name of Lord Jesus, we continue. Let's sing hymn 400 again. $400. Please be seated. I will continue to talk about sincere godliness here. Let's turn to 2 Timothy. Second Timothy chapter 3, verse 5. Second Timothy chapter 3, verse 5. Verse 5. Having a form of godliness, but denying its power, and from such people turn away. And here it recorded another group of people. They has a form of godliness, but denying its power. Now, having a form of godliness means that in appearance, they seems to do all the right things. They pray, they come to church, and they do church work. So on the surface, Yeah, they are very godly. It seems that they have devoted their life to serve God. But yet in here it said, these people actually denying His power. Now, what does it mean when it said having a form of godliness but denying His power? You find the power here refers to the strength that one should have to do the will of God and also to keep God's commandment. But because like a person who's supposed to be godly, not only he believe in God, not only he accepted God as his personal Savior, at the same time he also he's able, have the power and the strength to exhibit the character or the nature of God in his daily life. But you find these people here, they only have the form, have the appearance of one who is godly, but yet they don't actually perform this like nature of God in their daily life. Right? So when you look at these people, if you look at from verse 1 onward, chapter 3, verse 1 onward, now this is the life that they live, right? They what? They are lovers of themselves, lovers of money. They are proud, they're blasphemous, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, right? Unforgiving, unloving, a slanderer, without self-control, right? You find this is how they live their life, yeah? But on the surface, they do all the right thing. They still go to the temple. They still make offering to God. Still fast and pray, yeah? So they follow all the rituals which is required of the law. Yeah? But yet, in their daily life, they don't put the words of God, they don't put the righteousness of God into practice. They actually go against the commandment of God. Now, this is what we need to be careful of. Right? We as a Christian, yeah, we should behave like what we call a true Christian. Yeah. Not only while we're in the church, we should also behave like a true Christian in our everyday life as well. How we interact with our parents, how we behave towards our colleagues in workplace, how we actually, behave in the society, should actually demonstrate to the people of the world that we are genuine Christians. Yeah. This is what we call sincere godliness. It's not just like by showing up in church, like attending youth fellowship, yeah, and engaging in all kind of church work. But we're talking about how we behave in our daily life as well. Now, does your daily life actually exhibit the quality or the nature of God? Yeah. If you find that if you do all the church work, you come to church service, but yet when you're at home, you don't behave like a genuine Christian, then you find that what you do in the church will also be in vain. It will not be accepted by God. Right? Because what you're doing, in fact, is not what we call sincere godliness. Right? It's not genuine. It's not true. It's only in appearance only. But it has no substance. Okay, this is what we try to tackle in this lesson. Okay? And this is my personal belief. I don't think, anyone who's in the church, like when they engage in church work, yeah, that they don't want to be successful, that they don't want to be accepted by God. Yeah, I'm sure when we do something in the church, we all want to be accepted by God. Yeah. It's just that sometimes we don't quite understand. We don't know that. If our action in life does not fall in line with the teaching of the Bible, then you find whatever we do in the church is also in vain. It will not be accepted by God as well. In fact, if you do that, you actually give a foothold for Satan to enter into the church, or giving a foothold to Satan to disrupt the church work, or destroy the church work. Right. So it's very important while we serve God in the church, we also need to make sure our life in the society, our life need also be in line with the teaching of the Bible as well. Right? Let's look at an example. We'll look at Zechariah chapter 3. Zechariah chapter 3. We just look at verse 1. Zechariah chapter 3 verse 1. Then he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to oppose him. And here we call it the high priest called Joshua. He's actually standing before the angel of the Lord. He's there to serve God. He's a high priest, so he's serving God here. But you find something is very strange here, is that while Joshua the high priest was serving God, Satan is also standing there at his right side to oppose him. On what we call a normal circumstances, what we serve in the church, if what we do is good and is acceptable to God, you find Satan couldn't do anything about it, right? But if the way that we behave is not good, and I'm not saying what we do in the church work, it's the way that we live our life is not good in the eyes of God. You find that we actually have given a foothold to Satan to draw near to us and start opposing our work, which means that though you might have put in lots of time and effort into this church work, then you find that it could not be accomplished, because there's obstacle here, there's opposition here, and the opposition comes in the form of Satan, right? It's because that we have given him a foothold. So therefore, if you want to serve God, and if what you want and what you do, in fact, is acceptable to God, right? Then not only you serve diligently, but when we live our life, we must make sure that we don't sin against God. We actually keep all God's commandments. We don't give a foothold for Satan to go against us in our work. Okay, this is very important. So it's not just about serving in the church. It's also how we live our life as well. Right? This is what we call sincere godliness. Sincere godliness, not just do the right thing, right? Now, in appearance, we do all the right thing, but at the same time, we also need to behave in the right way as well in our daily life. Only then your work, will be valued, will be accepted by God. So this is something that we need to think about very carefully. When we, I think in the church we often encourage the member to do different kind of church work. Start from young, we probably start playing the piano, join the choir, do interpretation, then leading fellowship, leading Bible study. We want to nurture the youth of the church, so eventually they can become the workers of the church, because you are the future of the church. But while we learn to serve in the church of God, first of all, make sure we ourselves are righteous. We live a righteous life before God. Only then, when you work, when you serve God, Satan cannot oppose you. Right? And that is very important. Yeah. So something we need to bear in mind. Yeah. Now, a sincere godliness, it doesn't just mean that you do on the surface what seems to be the right thing to do, right? Come to church service, come to every fellowship, and also engage in various kind of church work. It's also about how you live your life as well. When you depart from the fellowship, when you go home, what do you do? Do you follow God's teaching? Yeah. Do you live out your life according to the Bible? That is very important as well. Right? Now let's look at a verse in Matthew chapter 5. In the time of Jesus, we know there's a group of people called the Pharisees, right? You find the Pharisee was become the main target of Jesus' criticism, if you like. It's because these people, Jesus said they worship God with their lips, but yet their heart is far from God. Right? Let's turn to Matthew chapter 15. Matthew chapter 15. Matthew 15, we look at verse 7 and 8. Verse 7. Hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy about you, saying, these people draw near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Verse 9. And in vain they worship me, teaching as doctrines the commandments of men. And here is Jesus is using a prophecy in the book of Isaiah to rebuke the Pharisees, saying that they are two faces, if you like. On one side, they follow all the so-called the law, the Mosaic law. They attend all the feasts. They offer all kind of sacrifice to God, and they will fast, twice a week. And they also try to help the poor, right? But the thing is that Jesus is saying to them, these people, in fact, they not actually, they doesn't have that substance of being a good Christian or someone who believing in God or someone who is righteous. They only follow the rituals, or they only fulfill the ritual, but yet they don't practice the words of God in their daily life. So Jesus said, these people worship me with their lips or with their mouth, but yet their heart, in fact, is far from me. Right? I think today this is something that we need to constantly remind ourselves. Now, how do we actually live our life? In the society, for instance, in university, right? Now, when you come to fellowship, you speak the right word, the way you behave is very, very kind, and it's in line with the teaching of the Bible. But when you go home, when you go back to your accommodation, how do you interact with your friends? What kind of activity do you actually engage yourselves in? If things that you get up to when you are alone or when you with your friends outside is not actually edifying, or it's not actually spiritually edifying to you, and then you find that all your effort that you put in the church, in the fellowship, in the Bible study, in your service, that you render to God, you find it will be in vain. Because Jesus is saying, yes, you worship me. Like outwardly, you seem that you're worshiping me because you do all the right thing, right? But yet, your heart is far from me. Your heart is not there. You don't actually exhibit the good quality as a Christian in your everyday life, right? So therefore, everything that you do in the chapel, in the house of God, in fact, is in vain. God will not be pleased. God will not accept your offering. Right? So, don't live a double life as a Christian. Yeah. You should be a Christian 24/7. Wherever you are, you should be able to manifest the good quality of a Christian. Only then your service to God, your worship to God will be accepted, will be deemed as valuable in the eyes of God. Right? Now let's look at another verse here. Let's look at Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7, verse 29. Matthew chapter 7, verse 29. Verse 29. For he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. And here is the conclusion of the Sermon on the Mount. When the people heard the teachings on the mountain, the conclusion is that Jesus, the way that Jesus teach them, is just like someone who having authorities. Yeah. Unlike the Pharisee and the scribes. Yeah. We know both Jesus and the scribe, they are like teachers of the law, if you like. They know the scripture well. Yeah. And they both devote their life to preach the gospel of God, if you like, or preach the law of Moses. Yeah. But you find there's one major difference between the Pharisees and Jesus. It's that when Jesus preached, it's like someone who has authority. Yeah. It means that the message that he preached is really convincing. People will be touched by his sermon. Yeah. The sermon actually have a very positive influence on the life of the listener. Right? But instead, the Pharisees, they also know the scripture well. They also spend much time preaching and teaching the people. But yet, the message that they preach, it's not that they are wrong. It's just that they preach and yet they don't they don't follow the teaching themselves. So as a result, you find that the message, though is correct, though is good, but yet people cannot accept it because they realize that these people, they preach and yet they don't practice the words of God. So this is actually teaching us here. If you do all kind of church work, or even you lead Bible study, you do sharing, what you want to do is that hopefully through your sharing or your Bible study or even sermonize, that you want the congregation to be edified, right? But if the way you live your life is not exactly follow the teaching of God, then you find your message does not carry that kind of authority. Right? The reason that Jesus' sermon was carried such authority is because not only he preached the words of God, he also practiced the words of God in his daily life as well. Right? So this actually teaches, especially those who are RE teachers, or especially those who are, do sermons in their life, in their church. make sure your life, not only you deliver the sermon, you need to live out the sermon in your daily life as well. Yeah. So when people hear you, they can also see this is your message as well. The way you behave, the way you act in your daily life should be a sermon to the people who are watching you. Yeah? Only then you find your sermon will carry that kind of authority, a positive influence on the listener and also the people who are around you. Okay, so this is very important. Right? That's why we say we need to have what we call sincere godliness. Do not just have a form and yet without any substance. Okay? Let's come back. We look at 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 16. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 16. This is an encouragement given by Paul to the young preacher, Timothy. First Timothy chapter 4, verse 16. Chapter 4, verse 16. 16. Take heed to yourself and to the doctrine, continue in them. For in doing this, you will save both yourself and those who hear you. Yeah. In here, Paul is saying to Timothy, as a preacher, someone who preached the gospel, not only you need to make sure what you preach is according to the words of God, is the doctrines of God, right? So what you preach must be correct, must be like of the Bible, of God. Okay? But you also need to what? Continue in them, Continue in them, not just like, I continue to preach. Continue in them also means that you continue to live out this kind of teaching in your daily life. All right? You preach and you do the work. Yeah? Okay, so by doing so, you find that you will save yourself because not only you serve God by preaching the gospel, you also discipline yourself with the words of God. So therefore, you cultivate yourself, you grow, eventually become mature and perfect, right? Obviously, then you'll be safe. In the eyes of God, you'll be safe. But you also save those who listen to you, right? Sometimes when we deliver a message, you find some people might not willing to accept, especially if the speaker does not apply the teaching in his own life. Yeah? Just imagine if someone who's very disobedient to the parents, and is actually standing on the pulpit preaching about honoring the parents. Yeah. You think the listener, and the congregation would actually accept what he preached? Obviously, the teaching is not wrong. The teaching is from the Bible. But because of your characters, the way you behave, actually, as a result, it actually undermines the authority of the teaching of God, if you like. So therefore, as a preacher, people who share the words of God with others, not only will we preach with words, we must also preach with our deeds as well, preach with our action as well. This is what we call, teaching or sermons with authorities, right? So if you want to do that, if truly you serve because you want to give glory to God and because you want to edify the members, right? And then don't just focus on your sermon, the sermon itself, but also put some focus on the way you behave as well. Now, if you are very eloquent, you are able to deliver a sermon, really, really well. But yet, if your lifestyle or the way you live your life does not coincide with your sermons, then you find your sermon will be in vain. It does not have that authority. It does not give forth that kind of power. It cannot edify the members. Right? Also, it's something we need to remind ourselves as well. Yeah. Now, especially in the church when we want to cultivate the members, the youth of the church. Yeah. Don't just preach, just saying or teach them just because you are a sermonizer. I'm a deacon. I'm a preacher. So therefore, it's my duty. Yeah. When I speak, you need to listen, right? In the church, the authority that we receive from God is there to edify. Yeah. And the only way that we can edify the member is that not only just by the words that we spoke, right? Also by the action that we take in our lives as well. Right? Okay, let's turn to chapter 2, or 2 Timothy chapter 2. Second Timothy chapter 2 verse 21. This is a very familiar verse. Yeah. Chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 41. 21, sorry. 21. Therefore, if anyone cleanses himself from the latter, he will be a vessel for honor, sanctified and useful for the master, prepared for every good work. In here, Paul once again is talking about that we need to be a worker that is approved by God, a worker that is pleasing to God. He said, in a great house or a large household, you might have different vessels, right? A vessel of gold, silver, wood, and clay, right? So you find the material is different, and just like the workers in the church, they are very different, right? They might come from different background, they might have different, qualification, right? They might have different talents, right? Yeah. But whether this like vessel are actually useful or ready for God's use or not does not depend on what kind of material that he's made from. Instead, it depends on whether the vessel is clean or not. Okay? And that's why I said if one can actually cleanses himself from the latter, in here which is referring to thing that is dishonor, things that is filthy, if you can actually cleanse yourself from all kind of filthiness or something that is dishonor, then you find only then you're ready for God's use. Then you are useful for the house of God, right? So yes, it's good to learn how to serve, and it's also good to pursue after knowledge, and also in pray for gifts or talents, so that we can serve the church, so that we can edify the congregation. But at the same time, whether we can actually fulfill the work or not, whether God wants to use us or not, it does not depend on our talents, but depends on whether we are righteous in the eyes of God or not, whether we are clean or not, right? And that's why it's very important. When you want to engage in church work, do church work, that first of all you need to cleanse yourself first. Also, the advice given by Paul in verse 22. This is how we can make sure that we can actually cleanse ourselves. Yeah. Verse 22. Flee also youthful lust, but pursue righteousness, faith, love, peace with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. And here there's two actions that we need to take in order to cleanse ourselves from things which is filthy and make ourselves ready for God's use. The first action that we need to take is to flee from youthful lust. Yeah. I'm not quite sure why Paul used the word youthful lust. Might be this kind of lust, this kind of desire, or fleshly desire, is more apparent, amongst the young people. Yeah. You find the youth, even those the youth in the church, they are often influenced or affected by the trend of the world. The trend of the world is to enjoy life, right? You do whatever pleases you, right? So you enjoy what's good, the food, you enjoy good food, you enjoy yourself, people will do just to gratify their what we call physical desire, and make themselves satisfied, enjoying the pleasure of the world. This is what most people, in the world will pursue after in their life. And you find this kind of influence or this kind of mindset sometimes, somehow, will also affect the member of the church as well, because we are living amongst them, especially in the society, in the university. Okay. Now, if you are a church members, you go into a university, there's no other church members there. Then you live in the accommodation, you're surrounded with people who are not believers of God, they are what we call Gentiles, right? And you find that the way they live their life is just like the people of the world, because this is what they do, this is normal, this is a norm to them, right? But for us, we know that this kind of activity, in fact, is secular, is of the lust, and is detestable in the eyes of God. It's in this kind of situation, this kind of condition, that when you find yourselves in, what can you do? In here, Paul said, you need to flee from it. Obviously, physically, it's not possible to, I will move out from the accommodation, I will live somewhere else by myself, so that, is it possible? I heard some testimony, from the youth of the church. I think at the first time when this youth from the church actually moved to university, the first day when he moved into the accommodation, it's a university accommodation. It's like in this room you have, 5 or 6 units, where people live by themselves, but you have a common room, you have a common kitchen you can use together. I think the first night he moved in, he was by himself. He didn't have a chance to meet with the people in the accommodation. But what he experienced on the first night is that he found that one of the students who are living in the accommodation actually brought in a girlfriend, and they were staying in the room together for the whole night. Yeah. And they were drinking, they were doing all kind of things, So after that evening, after that night, the brother actually realized, this is not good for me. This is not only distracting, it's also will cause a very serious, bad influence, on me. Yeah, and it's very devastating to my faith. Yeah. So what he did, he actually moved out from the accommodation. Instead, he will actually move to a single studio by himself. Yeah. So what I'm talking about is that when you find yourself in such circumstances or this kind of condition, it's no good just say, I will protect myself. Yeah. But yet you don't do anything about it. Yeah, to remove yourself from this kind of environment or situation. Right? Now, at least, you need to have that determination to make sure, I will not allow anything that is, negative, anything that is evil, to devour me. Right? You need to have this kind of, have this kind of sensitivity. Be alert, be watchful. Yeah. Not only you don't draw yourself near to temptation, but you need to flee from this kind of temptation, this kind of bad influence. So what do? Right? If you don't move out from the accommodation, what else can you do? You make sure you don't befriend them. Yeah. From the very beginning, you need to tell them, I'm a Christian. I keep the Sabbath on a Saturday. Yeah. I do not engage in this kind of activity. Yeah. And I don't clearly I don't want to mingle with people who actually enjoy this kind of life. Yeah. You need to be stand firm. You need to stand firm. You need to be very positive to stand on your ground. Yeah. And let them know, okay. I think if you can do that, if you have this kind of determination, right, then you find that, not only you take the initiative to take the action to avoid this kind of bad influence. Yeah. You find that God, you can also pray to God, ask God to protect you. Yeah. But, you yourself must have this kind of understanding first, this kind of determination first. Yeah. Okay, so that's what we'll talk about. Flee from this kind of people or this kind of environment. Yeah. Right? Obviously, sometimes when we say, if I don't befriend my fellow students, then I might end up very lonely, right? All by myself in the dorm, Everyone's enjoying themselves, and yet I'm staying in the room reading the Bible. Yeah. It seems very, I won't say depressing, but but sometimes it might feel like, you see me, I'm alone or something. Yeah. But I think the next suggestion given by Paul is something that we can learn from as well. Apart from fleeing from the youthful lust, then you need to pursue, right? It's another action that we need to take. Pursue what? Righteousness, faith, love, peace with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Yeah. Okay? So you flee from these people, this bad influence, but instead you draw near to those who actually have the heart to seek after God, or pursue after righteousness. Now go back to the question, but what if I'm the only one there who actually, believe in Jesus? I'm only one who actually from TJC. What can you do? Yeah. Obviously, you can flee from those who are bad influence, but there's no one there you can actually, join you to pursue after righteousness, faith, love, peace, and peace. What can you do? I think in today's society, I think, and what we call internet is very convenient, right? Or smartphone is very convenient. Yeah. You can always connect it to your fellow TJC members or the members in your fellowship, right? It's just that because physically you're apart, it doesn't mean that your heart needs to be apart as well. Your heart can be connected, right? As long as you spend some time, spend some time with God, reading the Bible, to pray. Also spend some time to have fellowship with your brothers and sisters, using whatever is available to you, right? Smartphone, internet, laptop, whatever. So it's not a hopeless situation. In fact, now I'm sure if you have the will to pursue after what is good, there is a way. There must be a way. Okay? So for those who are actually by themselves in the university, a peace, I don't know. For instance, in Newcastle, right, we have fellowships on a Wednesday and also on a Friday evening. Right? We have a group of people we can always talk to, or using the group or the chat that we have, right? So just because you're not physically here, that doesn't mean that you cannot join in, right? Right? It's a matter of like, what kind of mentality do we have? If you are determined to keep yourselves pure, and flee from what is dishonor, and you have the determination to pursue what is good with your fellow brothers and sisters, I'm sure there's a way. It really depends on how willful we are. Okay, regarding that particular point, is there any questions on that particular point? I think we do that every year now, right? When we have members who are moving away to university. The first advice we always give is that make sure you don't go to university where there's no church. Right? Which is very sensible, right? Sensible thing to do. Secondly, what if you move to really a university, then there's no church there? Does that mean, is that the end of it? No, obviously. There's always some way you can actually compensate that. But it is up to you how you going to protect your life. And the advice given by Paul is that flee from what is evil or what is like filthy. Instead, pursue what is good with your fellow brothers and sisters. If you have other members who are actually in the same university, I think this is a practice that is often happen in churches in Southeast Asia, for instance, in Malaysia, Taiwan. They are what they call university campus fellowship. They actually gather together either on a Wednesday evening or Friday evening. They'll gather together, have Bible study, have fellowship together, and they support one another. Even in Taiwan, they have churches that actually provide accommodation for students who are actually from faraway places, so that they can actually stay in the church and also worship in the church and also have fellowship with your brothers and sisters as well. They have this kind of supported network given to students who are from either from outside the country or people who live a little bit far away from their home. Yeah, it really depends on what we're going to do. I mean, obviously the church, if we cannot provide accommodation, or there's only few members actually if we know as members in the university where there's no churches, then obviously we still can't give them that support. It's that we take an initiative to build up a network of people to support that fellow, brother or sisters. Yeah. It's something that church can do as well. Yeah. But because it is, I do sometimes see like going to university for 3 years or 4 years can be a turning point, for the faith of the members. If you can actually get through universities, like these 3 years or 4 years, without seriously being contaminated by the trend of the world, you can actually survive these 3 or 4 years in university, and you actually come out from university. Not only you graduate from university, you can also maintain your faith. Yeah, that will be a very big step for you. Yeah, to become more mature in your faith. Yeah. But it's during this period of time that you need to be extra careful, because it seems that the tide of the world is against us. The pulling power of the world is much stronger. Yeah. So we need to rely on God more personally, but we also need to learn to do the right thing. Yeah, have the determination to preserve yourself and flee from what is evil, and also have the determination to pursue after God, after righteousness. Yeah. And the church also can support these students, give them the support that they need. When they are weak or when they are lonely, we should give them comfort. We should give them that, like companionship, that they need. Okay? Yeah, this is about sincere godliness. Not only have a form of godliness, but also we must have the substance as well. Yeah. Okay? Any questions? We only got 6 minutes or 7 minutes. Yeah. It's lunchtime because you only got half an hour for lunch, right? So therefore, I don't want to be late. Yeah. Oh, you don't want to be late. No questions? No? Okay. Then we thank God and we'll pray together. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, we pray. Hallelujah.